I move to hear and vote on Resolution PD 25-10.
Second.
Staff.
Good evening, Amanda Esposito, APC Assistant Director. So we have some final detailed plans for a PD here before you for approval. This is for the Provenance land development. Phase 3, 4, and 5 was approved late last year by this body and earlier this year by West Lafayette City Council. They came through and redid these phases here to add some density. So we're looking at some new brownstones and 9-plex townhome style dwellings. The bold black outline is the 3, 4, and 5 that was approved as part of this PD. Obviously, nothing has happened out here just yet. The construction, here's an updated, as of 3, 4, and 5 earlier this year. This is what the phasing looked like for Provenance. So the 3 and 4 are residential dwellings. 5 is the community amenity space. Phase 6 came through a little bit later, so earlier this year, and redid their part of the PD. FDP still coming. And this, again, you can kind of see there was some questions brought up, I think at Exec maybe, about the trailway. Just to the south, trailway was done separately, so it's not part of 3, 4, and 5 that we are contemplating tonight. Here is a site plan for what they're contemplating and an image of the types of dwellings that are going to be built on site. So the FDPs here consist of both construction plans and the final plat. Again, it's just for 3 and 4. Phase 5 is going to come through separately at some point whenever they're ready to do that one. The last bit of business that they were waiting on was their determination letter from the FAA. That took a little bit longer than expected, but we got that today, so that's really exciting. The bond has already been submitted, so we are ready to go once we get your approval today, which we are recommending approval. And once we have that, they can record anytime in the next 30 days.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner, have any comment?
Good evening, Greg Colesville, Old Town Company's Director of Development. Really excited to get this project off the ground. We did receive FAA approval today, so that's very exciting for phase 3 and 4 and for temporary crane, so for construction ready to move forward. We're excited to move forward with the Trailway Boulevard project just to the south, extending and giving access to phases 3 and 4, and providing access to phase 6, which will come at a later date. Today, we're just focused on 3 and 4. Phase 5 will come in December. You'll see more details about that clubhouse and the amenity space. We have 195 total units, and consisting of 3-story brownstones and 2-story plex units. Requesting approval today. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone from the audience wish to comment on this? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. As we enter our public hearing portion of the meeting, I have a statement I wish to read. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like for you to know the following. When we hear requests to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawings showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make a comment or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petition will be given an opportunity to do so. When we are hearing a request for a change in zoning, we're trying to determine if that new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report, and the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, then those of you who wish to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and a majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many Commission members are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate City Council, Town Council, County Commissioners, who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the Commission, please state your name and address for the record, and we have a sign-up sheet on the corner of the staff desk over there, if you'd sign up after you speak. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the Commission become property of the Commission. So, Larry.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendation on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Ready for the continuances.
I move to continue Z 2988 Chauncey Annex Redevelopment PD, CBW to PDMX, LB Collective, Andre Shakian, and Z 3000 Lennar Homes of Indiana LLC, R1 to PDRS, R1 and PDRS to R1B to the October 15th Area Plan Commission public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Ordinance amendment, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on UZO Amendment 122.
Second.
We don't have any fun slides for this, but the proposal before you tonight is in response to Resolution 2025-05 passed in March by Lafayette City Council to address the rapid proliferation and attendant oversaturation of gas stations within city limits. After many administrative officer AO meetings, many of those, 3 APC Ordinance Committee hearings, and much work by city staff, we have the following proposal to put before you. So this proposal will change a couple of sections in our UZO. Currently, gas stations are allowed in NB, NBU, GB, HB, and CB by right. This amendment would allow them only in NB, GB, and HB by right. So removing NBU and CB, some of those more downtown core zoning districts that you see in the city of Lafayette. Also, it would change section 4 for setbacks regarding the canopy. Right now, it's 10 feet from the right-of-way. The amendment would propose a 30-foot setback for that canopy, as well as locating them to the side of the primary structure. There are also new separation requirements. You can see the distance there between existing gas stations and any new proposed gas stations, between gas stations and any residentially zoned or used properties, and as well as fueling centers, a separation zone between them and residentially zoned or used properties. There are some new gas station building standards, so development standards that would be put into Chapter 4 for building materials, roof design, etc., outdoor storage areas that you commonly see with gas stations, And then in Chapter 5, so far what we've discussed has been in either Chapter 2 or 4, which can be varied with a variance from the BZA or the Lafayette Division of the BZA. The decommissioning plan will be in Chapter 5, which cannot be varied. And this would be new for gasoline service stations, fueling centers, truck stops, oil change businesses, and car washes, that they must submit a decommissioning plan approved by the AO and recorded prior to the issuance of an improvement location permit. So with this amendment, it would create several non-complying gas stations, those that don't meet the architectural development standards, but will only create 3 legally non-conforming gas stations that are currently located in CB and NBU zones. The City of Lafayette has stated that they will be informing these businesses of the change to the UZO. The Ordinance Committee has recommended waiving the $500 rezone fee should any of those 3 gas stations wish to proceed with a path forward to becoming conforming with the UZO. Should they want to apply for that rezone, of course, it's not guaranteed that they would get that rezone because they would still have to go before the Lafayette City Council for approval. So APC will need to discuss that and act on that recommended provision tonight. So if this amendment would be sent to all jurisdictions, that they would also have the option of adopting this ordinance amendment. We are recommending approval of it, and Kara is here from the city, so is Jackie. They might have a little bit more to add.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Chosnick. I'm Lafayette City Attorney. On behalf of Mayor Roswarski, who could not be here this evening, and the City of Lafayette, I would first like to thank APC staff, city staff, and the Ordinance Committee for all of the work that they have put in to this ordinance. Amanda said it correctly. There have been a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, but work has paid off. The ordinance in front of you is what the City Council asked for you to consider and deliver when we adopted our resolution back in March, and I would ask that you support the ordinance.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this from the audience? Question about, I guess I'll make a couple comments about the Ordinance Committee, and then if any other members want to comment. Ordinance Committee, we talked about this a couple sessions, and we support the changes that the city wants. The concern that we had is making conforming gas stations, which really don't know anything about this, but they will, is try to help them become conforming. So that's where that comment came out of the Ordinance Committee. Any other comments from someone that was on the Ordinance Committee? Did I explain that very well? Okay. So they'll get, I think the city said they will get notified that this will be heard at City Council so they can come and address their concerns if they have any, and we're trying to assist them in becoming conforming, if they so choose so. So how do we...
I had a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, for the non-complying gas stations that don't meet the architectural standards, are they required to do something?
They would only be required to gain variance approvals if they intended to change anything on the outside of their structure. They would be legally non-complying once this ordinance passes.
Any other questions or comments from the board? What do we need to do about the recommendation of waiving the fee? Is it just a voice vote, part of the...
Yeah, I think that's a voice vote. I didn't see it in the ordinance itself. So the motion would just be that in the event any of the 3 that are named in the report come forward to be rezoned, that the normal fee, which is currently $500, be waived for them, and that's within your power to do so. And that would just take a motion and a second.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Is there a time frame?
You know, as I was speaking, I was thinking about the 1 year that came up, but
Yeah.
I would suggest maybe we get a second on it and then move through
we'll
the
do this
conversation.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to waive that fee. To complete that, we did talk at Ordinance Committee about giving them a year, and if anybody has any other comment on that, this seems like a reasonable amount of time that doesn't go on forever, but would allow them time to explore their options.
So if there aren't any other comments on that, I would suggest that the motion be amended to add that that $500 waiver will be good for a year from its final passage, which
I'll
would be
amend the-
tonight.
I'll
if you
amend the
pass it.
motion to include the 1-year time limit.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now, back to the original ordinance. Any other questions or comments from the commission about the ordinance?
I also had a question about the decommissioning. I guess I was just curious if there's like precedent for that, like do some gas stations already have decommissioning plans? Just curious what kind of, if that would create difficulties for them or not.
Not locally, but I do believe that is common with other jurisdictions. I couldn't tell you offhand who those are,
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
we have seen that in planner world.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot recommending approval. This will, of course, advance to Lafayette and all other localities, so they will each have an opportunity to consider this for themselves if they so choose.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, City. Larry, rezoning, please.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2995 Thompson Property Investments LLC, R1 to A.
Second.
Petitioner, who's the owner, is requesting a rezone from R1 single family to agricultural zoning for 23 acres in Weah Township. As you can see here, the map, we have an area of R1 that's kind of surrounded by agricultural to the north and south and east, with some floodplain on the east. This is uncommon for us to see some zoning out here where sewer and water do not reach the site. This is a close-up of the 23 acres in this request. So in the past, the comprehensive plan would not recommend in favor of rezoning to a development zone that doesn't have sewer and water available, or a commitment from the city to extend sewer water in some kind of amount of time. And this property does not have that. Obviously, the creek to the east is an impediment, and availability is just got to the property to the north of this site. I think that's at 500. Nothing south in the area would serve the city. With sewer and water not being available in this area and the petitioner requesting the rezone back to agriculture, the comprehensive plan would support that. So that's where we made our recommendation of support for this case.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Petitioner or their representative?
My name's Josh Shives, and I live at 1910 West 450 South in 47909 with Thompson Property Investments. We have 3 parent tracks that are all R1, and we are rolling them back to ag with the intention of doing like 2-acre lots. Or I think we'll have a total of 8, possibly 9, depending on how it plays out. One of which isn't included in the rezone, but they would all be large acre tracts of at least 2 acres. Most of them, I think, pencil out to like 2.5 on the left side, and a couple 2s on this side. or like 2.2s, but they're all at least 2 acres, so that's the intention.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot. It's his first meeting.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Very good, and that will go to the county commissioners, I believe, on October 6th. Anyway, next case, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2996, Wayne Reiser, I-3 to GB.
Larry.
Petitioner with consent from the property owner is represented by Kevin Riley is requesting the rezoning of a portion of Lot 17 in Park 350 South from I-3 to GB. You can see here, this lot is currently one lot that goes from David Hawthorne all the way to the west. They're requesting a rezone of the eastern portion with the assumption that if they get the approval, they'll come in with a subdivision to cut that piece off from the rest of the lot. You see here, this sits at the corner of David Hawthorne and Veterans Memorial, which is, a quarter of a mile away from US 52 and Veterans Memorial intersection. This is in this heavy industrial area. We actually have 2 other cases that are on the agenda to the east. You'll see here. This is part of the industrial expansion area that was rezoned in 1997. So it's sat for, almost 30 years and slowly developed along David Hawthorne. These lots were subdivided and are ready to have a user on them, but it's still part of the industrial corridor. Staff's recommendation is based off the most recent plan for this area, which shows an industrial future. Based off of that, we recommended denial of this rezone request.
Very good. Petitioner or the representative?
Thank you. Good evening. Kevin Riley with RTS Law representing the petitioner. As many mentioned, we're seeking to rezone this property from I-3 to GB. Purpose of the rezone would be to allow for the construction of a Culver's restaurant at this site. We're actually looking at approximately 2 acres for the Culver's site. The remaining portion of the lot, as mentioned, would be subdivided and would be used for a different purpose. Before filing this, we did talk to the city about what our plans were, and we're not aware of any concerns from the city based on those discussions. As Larry mentioned, the comprehensive plan is, we're talking roughly 30, 40 years old. Based on the lack of interest in this ground from industrial users, we don't believe that a rezone to commercial will discourage any other industrial development in that area, despite what was mentioned in the staff report. Talked to Steve Shook, a local commercial realtor, about this, and he mentioned that strategically placed commercial like this, what we're seeking, can be actually beneficial to the adjacent industrial sites. I also mentioned that we've got Meyer coming in to the west. You've got commercial development on the east. We think that's going to drive more development, commercial development, retail to central, kind of where we're located. We believe that placing a restaurant with broad appeal between Highway 52 and Concord is going to serve the needs of the industrial park and then also the expanded residential in that area as well on the south side. So we request your recommendation of approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Questions or comments from the board? I guess my only comment is I understand the staff's recommendation for denial as you want to hold the industrial together so you could accommodate a large user. But it seems like this is placed kind of in the corner where it's not going to inhibit a large user, and maybe it does make sense to allow a little bit of GB in that area. Any other comment? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have 13 votes recommending approval, 1 in denial. So this will carry on. We do have a majority to
Very good.
City Council.
City Council, October 6th. Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2997 Lafayette Station LLC, NB and GB to GB with commitment.
Second.
Ryan.
All right. Okay. Moving closer to the center of town, the site here has been developed for an awful long time. The history is laid out in the area land use pattern here, but the proposal here is to try to kind of unify the site under a single general business zone with a commitment to prohibit undesirable uses and that are listed also in the report. Here's the site itself. And then, whoops, let me back up there. Specifically, they mention in their petition that they're looking for a full-size trampoline park as a potential user for, obviously, for a portion of the site. The commitments I already mentioned there. The zoning ordinance, of course, does allow for the use of trampoline parks in the NB zone. However, there's a footnote that does kind of limit them. That footnote does not exist for the general business zone, which is kind of why they're here. So they feel kind of unifying the site under a single GB zone will really free things up and allow them to have a little more flexibility to find tenants, including the one that they're obviously after, trampoline park. So be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we are recommending approval with commitment.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Petitioner or the representative?
Thomas Bedsall, Frost Brown Todd, here for petitioner. I've got with me Clay Ralston, who is the Vice President of Property Management for the petitioner. As they stated, this is the old Big Lots space. As many of you know, Big Lots is no longer in business. The space is vacant. And we do have the proposed tenants, Fun City, but they need more than 5,000 feet. So that would be what would be going in here. But as they indicate, this area continues to develop and redevelop, we believe that the GB provides more flexibility. Not a lot, but it just does provide for a few additional uses. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. We may have some for you. Anyone else, or anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
No, you have 2 yellow ballots.
Okay, thank you. So we have
You
2
have a
yellow.
commitment.
Okay, very good, yeah. Let's do the commitment first. And as we know, even if you're opposed to the rezone, you should vote for the commitment. So it would go forward with the, thank you, Larry. Jerry with I think Larry would make a good president.
That's what I'm saying.
He watches over me.
Pretty sharp, pretty sharp.
Thank you. Well, Ryan's, well, we'll wait till Ryan. I was going to vote, we'll wait for your count and then we'll vote on the
Thank you.
next one.
Unanimous ballot recommending approval of the commitment.
Okay, so we can vote on the rezone, please.
And we have a unanimous ballot recommending approval for the rezone.
Very good. So that'll go to Lafayette City Council also on October the 6th. Next, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z20, oh, I'm sorry. I move to hear and vote on Z 2998, KMB property in Indiana, LLC, R1U to R2U.
Second.
Amanda.
Thank you. So this request is before you because there is an existing duplex on the property that was built in 1890 according to county records. So we're here in the historic Centennial neighborhood. There is an overlay in this neighborhood that would, it's a form-based overlay, so any development or redevelopment that happens to properties here have to conform to specific design guidelines as per the ordinance. So as you can see from the map here, there's a long, narrow strip of R1U, which is single-family in urban areas, that spans from Union Street down to the south side of North Street. Surrounding properties are R2U, single and two-family residential in urban areas, and NBU just to the east of this property. There's an aerial for you and a close-up. So like I said, there's an existing duplex built in 1890. I'm not sure, we don't know if the home was originally built as a duplex or converted at a later date, but it was listed as, according to the Historic Centennial Neighborhood Plan, this property was listed as a contributing structure. While it may not be individually eligible for the National Register of Historic Places, it is important to the density and continuity of the area's historic fabric. So there is an alley just behind the building, which appears to have space to park at least 2 vehicles. 4 parking spaces are required for duplex structures. The adopted land use plan calls for low-density residential urban for this half of the block, which is defined as a mix of single and two-family homes with minimal setbacks and so on. So because the duplex fits into the land use prescriptions from the plan, we are supporting this rezone request and are recommending approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Amanda, petitioner or the representative, please.
Evening. Excuse me, Kevin Riley with RTS Law, representing the petitioner. We agree with the staff's report, don't have a whole lot to add other than the sole purpose of the rezone is to make it the zoning conform, but there are not any planned changes, certainly to the use or plans for redevelopment of the site. So that's why we're requesting the rezone.
Very good, thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
Unanimous ballot recommending approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Next case, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2999, Canna Properties LLC, R1U to R2U.
Second.
Amanda.
Thank you. So this is a very similar case. The existing structure is a duplex built in 1957 as a duplex, likely before the ordinances were adopted. In 2000, or as you can see here, there's a lot of R1U in this neighborhood, but quite a few spot zones of R2U or R3U, which is the multifamily zoning district. This is in the St. Lawrence McAllister neighborhood, and there's a close-up of the structure. So in 2005, the St. Lawrence McAllister neighborhood plan was adopted, and it recommended low-density residential or single-family dwellings for this particular block. The city followed up that plan adoption with a neighborhood-wide rezone to R1U. This likely created many legally non-conforming uses, including this one. So the petitioner is wanting to bring the property into compliance with the UZO. The city may also require variance approvals before occupancy permits can be obtained. We're not sure what the petitioner's full plans are here, but we do have a little bit of a site plan. Petitioner might speak to more of that. So while the neighborhood plan, which was adopted in 2005, calls for single-family residential for most of the area, many duplex structures have existed here historically and continue to exist here. Older urbanized areas of Lafayette were traditionally and historically a mix of densities. Looking further beyond the single block where this property is located, one can see a large number of what I called spot zones, where single properties are zoned for either two-family or even multifamily dwellings. As planners, we often recommend against these spot zones, but in this case, however, the more historic pattern of mixed densities was likely the best one for this neighborhood, as it can support a larger diversity of residents in a near downtown neighborhood with robust transportation facilities. So we are recommending approval for this rezone.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or their representative, please.
Hi, my name's Jacqueline Jaquis. My address is 7651 East 200 North, Whitestown, Indiana, 46075. But I'm here representing Canna Properties LLC, which is basically my mom, Lois Jaquis, who lives at 1510 North 18th Street, which is just across the alley to the east of the property that we're talking about. I have this big fancy story to pull at your heartstrings, but basically the building is duplex, two-story duplex with one apartment on top and one below. We're planning on keeping it exactly as it is, well, except better. It just needs, we've been waiting for a long time to be able to renovate it and bring it up to the standards that we want to see in our neighborhood. We just need the proper designation so that we can pull the permits and return it to its intended state. Like, I just, again, want to emphasize that this is someone who's part of that neighborhood, wanting to make her neighborhood better. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
My name is David Berkey. Excuse me, I'm from 2800 Cason Street, Lafayette, Indiana. And I own the property that is right to the north of that. And basically, it appears that this zoning is just to make this particular property comply to what's already been there for years. So I recommend its approval.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone in opposition? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have 14 votes recommending approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Next one, Larry, please.
I move to hear together and vote on separately Z 3001 R&D Rentals LLC, I-1 and I-3 to I-3, and Z 3002 Bartholomew Rentals, I-1 and I-3 to I-3.
Second.
Larry.
All right, you'll see the first site here, and it's zoned I-3 and I-1, and then you'll see our second site here, which is also zoned I-3 and I-1. It's under different LLCs, but it's run under the same business. I think the petitioner can probably speak a little bit more about that if there's questions. So they are requesting rezoning of two lots that are currently zoned I-3 and I-1 to I-3. Our comprehensive plan shows this as an industrial corridor, and it supports this request. This would allow a little bit more outside activity, but with no residential uses in the neighborhood. There is one R1 to the north, but I think the comprehensive plan recognizes that this area will have a industrial future as it's had and will continue to increase in intensity. This use is expanding, and they plan on using their second lot. And staff can support this based off of the comprehensive plan amendment from 1987. And we do have an access map that shows potential locations for access points. These were created when the Veterans Memorial was rebuilt by the county. This has the potential to have an additional address or access point. It would be a right-in, right-out, but that would be handled a little bit more during the design stage. There is an odd piece of R1 that's surrounded by this that is owned by the electric company, and it's part of the power line, so more than likely they would see some kind of variance for buffer yard as that's required. think they've just never been involved in the rezone, the electric company. So any other questions we can handle during discussion, but staff is in favor of this rezone.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Petitioner or the representative, please.
Thank you, Kevin Riley with RTS Law, representing the petitioner. Appreciate Larry's report, and we agree with staff's report. In terms of ownership, it was a surprise to the petitioner that these properties were zoned or owned by different entities. They are related entities. It's a simple fix via a quitclaim deed at some point if that's what they choose to do. But I think it was just an oversight at some point in terms of the ownership. We agree, again, we agree with staff's report and would request your approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Questions or comments from the board? So I think we have 2 ballots, and I think we can vote on those at the same time, but just separate. There's one. There's one. Okay.
Okay, we have unanimous ballots for both petitions of approval.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Administrative matters.
Yeah, I do have a couple.
Okay.
First, I've been in communication with Mayor Easter that she is off to the races trying to find a replacement for Rabita. So I'm awaiting to hear who that person will be. So I'll certainly let you know as soon as we find out. Also, there's because of Rabita's departure, there's obviously a vacancy on the BZA as well, which is the APC appointment that is made by the president of the APC. So that'll be at your discretion when you so choose to fill that, if you want to wait for Rabita's seat to fill and then make a decision, or do it now. So if there's any questions about that, or for Eric, we can discuss. But so that's that matter. Any questions about the Rabita vacancy?
No, I
Okay.
understand there's a meeting next week for BZA. I'm not sure the agenda, and I was kind of waiting on
See what the mayor's going to do.
the mayor's.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that.
Yeah, me too.
And so.
All right. Last point, Christina is leaving us.
Did she
very
get
sad to
approval
say.
Do we get to vote on that?
So I'm afraid we're all doomed. So, so after 3 years of incredibly dedicated service, she is moving on, and her last day will be this Friday. So we are very grateful for her work and wish her all the best.
Yes,
So.
I agree with that. Yep, thank you. Approval of the October Executive Committee agenda. No
Nothing's there.
subdivisions, determination of variances.
I move that the following request for variance from the Unified Zoning Ordinance is not a request for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2210, Fairway Cooperative Association Incorporated, and BZA 2211, Select Towers 2 LLC.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Director's report. Any questions for Ryan? Okay, citizens' comments and grievances. Hearing none, I'll take that last motion.
I move we adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Nailed it.